Breaking news, California's boondoggle high-speed rail project could soon be canceled if President Trump follows through on a campaign promise. Coming up, we've got the details and what we're doing at Reform California to make sure this boondoggle gets killed. I'm Carl DeMaio, chairman of Reform California and a state representative representing District 75 in the California State Assembly. Let's take a look at this news. You might have heard that President Trump appointed this new skunk works division, this new department, the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE. And it's going to be headed up by Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy. The goal of DOGE would be to look through every federal department and all the programs in the federal budget to look for cost savings because, well, we have a fiscal crisis. I love this proposal, and that's why I've been watching them intently, because we have a fiscal crisis and Republicans have not been very good on the budget. They've been spending way beyond our means. And, isn't that what Democrats do? I mean, it would be nice to get Republicans back on fiscal reform. And we definitely need to do that if we're going to save this country. So DOGE, headed up by Ramaswamy and Elon Musk, they are looking through every nook and cranny of the federal budget. In addition to that effort, President Donald Trump has been highly critical of California programs, but in particular, the boondoggle high-speed rail project. And we're going to talk a little bit about this project in particular. Most of you are well aware of just how atrociously wasteful this project is. But DOGE has seemingly fixated on the high-speed rail project. And I'll tell you a little bit about that in a moment, but let's talk about the project itself. So for those of you who are not aware, the voters were asked to consider this boondoggle project back in like 2008. A ballot measure, a bond, was put on the ballot, and the politicians said, hey, let us borrow $10 billion. And that's the upfront seed money that will then result in us building this beautiful, carbon reducing high-speed rail train throughout California. And the $10 billion coming from the taxpayers would then result in an additional $25 billion in other investment, $23 billion really. So a total cost of $33 billion. At the time, I said, first, we don't need high-speed rail. We already have high-speed rail. It's called Southwest Airlines. Southwest, you can jump on a flight and get anywhere in the state of California in a matter of an hour or two. Second, the high-speed rail train would likely not be utilized to the extent to which the backers of this boondoggle were promising. They said, well, if you build it, they will come. No, we're not a transit society in California. People don't like transit. It's not a very reliable, safe, convenient form of transportation. It's certainly not affordable because we've got to subsidize it way beyond the little utility or benefit we get out of it. And then finally, I said at the time, there's no way we're going to build this boondoggle for $33 billion, and there's no way that the private money is going to materialize. And we were right. The project was approved by voters in 2008 by a narrow vote. And right out of the gate, we found out they lied to us. That the $33 billion was nothing more than, well, marketing, PR, a lie. Most of us would just call it a lie. And that private money did not materialize. And since then, we've been on the hook for billions and billions and billions above the initial bond that was provided. That money's already been spent. It's gone in the coffers of political consultants, contractors. It's all been payback money. Politicians rewarding their consultants and their supporters, particularly the unions who write a bunch of checks when it comes to politics. Today, the project has not done any real construction. The project also has been cut back. Instead of it being high-speed rail up and down from north to south, it's now going to be a small little segment in Central Valley. And the price tag has gone from $33 billion to over $135 billion. And that's as of earlier this year. Every year we get another cost estimate update for this project. And because of cost overruns and inflation, the costs continue to spike. So let's review the bidding here. The project's not done. It was supposed to be done a decade ago. The project has been cut back in terms of scope to a small little segment between, a few cities in Central Valley. The project is not $33 billion, it's $135 billion and growing. And of course, no private investment materialized. By the way, how are they propping up the project right now? They now have two forms of subsidy. Number one, they've got the cap and trade tax that they apply to your gas. So all of the taxpayer money for this project in California is coming from this carbon tax, this higher cost of living on your electricity bill and at the gas pump. So the cap and trade fund is propping up this boondoggle program. And then, of course, on top of that, they're asking the federal government for bailout money in the form of federal tax payer bonds and grants, not bonds, but grants. So back in 2019, Donald Trump came in and said that he was canceling about $1 billion of federal money for high-speed rail. And of course, all the Democrats in California hooted and hollered and said that it was awful. And when Trump lost the election, boom, Biden came in and said, I'm not just going to restore the billion, I'm going to put in $3.1 billion for the boondoggle. And that money has flowed through the U.S. Department of Transportation. So now we've got DOGE. DOGE is saying that this project is a boondoggle. And now that DOGE has its sights set on this boondoggle project, you're going to get a lot more talk about cancellation. And of course, Trump during the campaign trail would constantly criticize high-speed rail and talk about it's a waste of money and that he wanted to cancel it. So Vivek Ramaswamy retweeted this original tweet from Alex Stapp. The California high-speed rail project has been a massive boondoggle, $100 billion over budget, told voters it would be finished by 2020. Now they don't even have a date for completion. And then there was a Los Angeles Times story about, again, the cost overruns and the delays. Vivek says this is a wasteful vanity project, burning billions in taxpayer cash with little prospect for completion in the next decade. President Trump correctly rescinded $1 billion in federal funds for the boondoggle in 2019. Biden reversed it and doubled down. Time to end the waste. Bravo, Vivek. We agree. Now, Reason Foundation has a number of other elements here. And basically, Reason Foundation, which is not against infrastructure projects, has pointed out all of the elements of corruption. They're burning through $1.8 million every day, and that's as of 2022. So the number is probably more like $2.5 million of your money every day, and they're not building anything. It's all these consultants who are studying and developing planning documents, doing absolute make work, and feeding at the trough. 1.8 million in 2022 money, probably 2.5 million in today's money. The Reason Foundation has been right on about this project as of high. We both opposed this back in 2008. In fact, we were one of the only groups that opposed it in the state of California. Most of the other, even Republicans, were like, ooh, well, maybe if it creates jobs. No, government doesn't create jobs. Projects like this, it just imposes a higher cost. It's all about corruption and people getting their share of the waste. And the infrastructure we need, roads, those are the projects that are canceled in order for money to be diverted to these boondoggles. Absolutely insane. At Reform California, we have a plan to cancel high-speed rail. Trump alone will not be able to cancel high-speed rail. What Trump will do is he'll probably snake back any of the unspent money that Biden gave, the $3.1 billion. So you can expect that money to be taken back. But the problem here is that they still are imposing these illegal carbon taxes on you through the cap and trade program. Two things are going to happen. Number one, I'm in the legislature and I'm planning to oppose vigorously the cap and trade tax reauthorization when it comes up for a vote early in this legislative session. The politicians have to reauthorize the program. I'm going to lead the coalition to basically shine a light on the corruption, the wasteful spending, and the cost of living to you. How the carbon tax, the cap and trade program, increases the cost of living for all Californians, and how we cannot sustain that. The second thing we're going to do is we're proposing that we put a cost of living reduction initiative on the ballot in the 2026 election to focus on energy costs first. You might say, well, what do energy costs have to do with the high-speed rail project? I'm glad you asked. As part of my proposal, the 10-point plan, the contract to reform California, the Cost of Living Reduction Act is our first item. And it says that at any time during the year when there is a gas price for a quarter, a 90-day period, of more than 10% the national average, or at any time in the year where your electricity cost per kilowatt hour is higher than 10% of the national average, 10% higher than the national average, that all taxes on gas and electricity, all forms of energy, imposed by the state of California would be suspended for the next 6 months. And it would keep clawing back every time we have a 10% higher cost for a quarter, then it would push back 6 months, a prohibition on collecting the gas tax or any state fee on electricity or gas. Second, we're going to give you a $2,500 cost of living relief rebate. Because remember, if you are paying higher energy costs in California because politicians have overregulated our market, have imposed costly taxes, fees, and regulatory mandates, and that's really why we're paying so much higher a price, double for our electricity and $1.50 to $2.50 per gallon for gas, that you would be given immediately a $2,500 cost of living rebate. How are we going to pay for that? Glad you asked. We're going to cancel the high-speed rail train and take every single penny of that carbon tax, the cap and trade tax that they've collected over the years, and we're going to give it back to you. That represents money that increased your electricity bill, your gas bill. You paid for those higher costs. And in order to give you relief from the high cost of gas and electricity today, we ought to refund the money that the government price gouged you on over the years. And of course, in order to give you the money back, we've got to stop them from taking it for high-speed rail. So that's our plan. And, I think that this is a logical way to solve the problem. Cancel high-speed rail, applaud President Trump for, basically canceling the federal money going to high-speed rail, because that federal grant money is only propping up an unsustainable project. We need both Trump to do his action and we have to do our actions here in the state of California. So that's our plan. What I'd like you to do is join us in that fight. Go to reformcalifornia.org. That's the website, reformcalifornia.org. Sign up at that site so you can be updated on our efforts to get this all enacted. Plus, chip in a contribution. Help us kill high-speed rail. Help us continue to get the news out through this show each and every day. We can't do any of this work without your help. High-speed rail needs to be canceled. We need to get the money back for roads. And we shouldn't be having money coming from your pocketbook in the form of higher gas prices and higher electricity prices. Let's do right by Californians. Doge is right. The project's a boondoggle. Let's kill it. Until next time, Carl DeMaio, Chairman of Reform California and a California State Representative representing District 75 in the State Assembly. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. But before you click away, please subscribe to this channel and click that notification button so you get updated when we post new episodes. Plus, like this video and share it with your friends so that we can help spread our message across the state. Reform California with Carl DeMaio is paid for by Carl DeMaio for State Assembly.